Forever and ever, you have heard many politicians and other people say, we are creating tough laws and we are creating these minimum mandatory laws because we want to keep our community safer. We want to keep criminals out of our community. But in fact, that is a lie. Number one, because tougher on crime, incarcerating people in a massive manner does not create a safer community. There is a lot of collateral damage when a person goes to jail. You got the families to deal with. You have most probability that the children have 85% chance of going to jail. The wives have to go, many of them on welfare. It becomes a very drastic situation. The community does not become safer by no means. But why? If you think about the statistic, whereas America is 4% of the world's population, but yet America has over 24% of all the world inmates. Why is that? Why are we creating laws where people are going to jail for a long, long time? When I went to prison in 1979, I had one of the highest sentences, and I was given 15 years, and I was convicted as heading the largest drug conspiracy in the world. And when I went into the different prisons that I was in, I had the highest sentence. Today, 15 years is nothing but drunk time. It's really a joke, because you got kids today that have never seen $5,000 in their lives. All of a sudden, with 25 years, you got all these 3 strikes, you're out doing life. Think about 3 strikes, you're out for a minute. People say, committed 3 crimes. Well, 3 crimes could be he stole a bicycle when he was young, then he got caught with a joint, all of a sudden he commits his 3rd crime, and now 3 strikes, you're out, he'll get a life sentence. I applaud President Trump for being the first president to really have the guts to do something with his second chance initiative. It's a small step, but it's a step. Every president's talked about it, but none has done anything. And why is that? If you consider the amount of money that it takes to run a political campaign, and I'm not saying by no means that every politician is crooked, but just consider the amount of money, $100 million, $200 million to run a House and a Senate seat. Where does this money come from? I know for a fact, because of contacts that I have in different state prisons, that the amount of money that is offered to politicians to make the laws tougher so that inmates stay in there are enormous. Why is that? Well, how about $185 billion we spent of your taxpayer dollar and my taxpayer dollar so that companies can become rich? Think about the People Supply Commissary. You have no idea what it costs for an inmate to call his family, the company that have the contract for the phone systems, the company that sell the pharmaceuticals and all the drugs that are needed for all the sick inmates. We have an enormous prison population today of people suffering from mental health that don't need to be in a prison, need to be in a mental health hospital getting help. Private prisons, they need to be eliminated. If you're in a federal prison, you're treated pretty decent if you act decent. But think about a private prison. What are they concerned about? Private prison is only concerned about the bottom line. So if they can house that man or that woman as cheap as they can, the more money that they make. So in reality, all we're doing is warehousing. And the truth is that we can rehabilitate. Rehabilitation is real. When we look at people going back to prison, it's only because the system is set up for a person to go back to system. Once you get that label, convicted felon, there's nothing you can do about it. You're going to come out and many jobs are not going to be there. And if you don't have an opportunity to feed your family, what are you going to do? I had the opportunity to go back to school to get a Ph.D., later on to start business. But if at the age of 40 I came out of prison, I had no way to pay my child support, no way to eat. I'm going to tell you what I was going to do. I was going to go back to Miami and sell drugs. And my life had been a tremendous transformation. God changed me in ways that I can't even explain to people. I forfeited millions of dollars to the government because I wanted to come clean. But at the end of the day, when it becomes survival, a person does whatever a person has to do. And it's sad because the system is set up so that you would do just that. And then you come back, and then we incarcerate you, and we keep you longer and longer. When I went to prison the first time, I got 15 years, and I was charged with heading the largest drug conspiracy in America at that time. And that was a long sentence. And I did a little bit over 5 years. Why? Because at that time, if you didn't mess up on a 15-year sentence, you do a third. But now, on any sentence, you no longer do a third, you do 85% of the time. And if you do 85% of the time, what incentive is there for you to behave? You treat men and women like animals, and that's how they're going to react, like animals. So what can we do? Number one, we need to realize that $185 billion that we're paying comes out of your taxpayer dollar and my taxpayer dollar. Number two, we need to bring awareness because no one is immune. Listen, there's a law they're trying to pass. It exists in some states. If I buy cocaine or any drug and I get high with my girlfriend and she dies, I get charged with murder and I get a life sentence. But am I a murderer? No, I'm an addict that needs help. And that's the problem. We don't understand anything about addiction. We don't understand anything about mental health. So we paint everybody with the same brushstroke. And we lock them up, we warehouse them because that's what makes money. The more men we warehouse, the more money the Bureau generates, the more money is generated for the special interest group, and the more money that they can spend with lobbyists to make sure that you pass stronger laws. Listen, there's men that need to be in jail forever. There's a lot of people incarcerated today don't need to be there. They need help. They need to find the system and the ways. And I have tons of proof. I know a man that was at one of the worst prisons in the United States, charged with murder. But the system was in place because the warden of Louisiana State Penitentiary at Angola set it up so that if you act like a human, you're going to be treated like a human. And if you treat like a human and the system is there for you to advance and to become better and to be morally rehabilitated, then most people want to be. Most people want to be better. Most human beings don't want to be bad. But we must give them the opportunity. We must put the system in place so that in fact they can become a better person. Number one, transforming their mind. Number two, transforming their way of being. And number three, setting up programs where they can earn a living upon release. There's a lot the government can do, and there's a lot that you and I as taxpayers can hold our different candidates responsible so that they would do what is right. And they would help these people. And we begin to release. Listen, the prisons are full of old people that should not be in jail. Why? Because at the end of the day, it's all about bodies. Or if you're in the prison business, it's all about inventory. Human bodies become inventory. The more inventory, the more revenue generated. And that is a horrific crime. Americans are not more dangerous than every country on earth. Americans are not more criminal than any country on earth. I would venture to say Americans are mostly good people with great values that make horrible choices. But let's not compound their horrible choice by us incarcerating them forever and ever with no opportunity to rehabilitate themselves, to change themselves. And then what do they become? They just become a better criminal, become an animal. And eventually when they are released, it makes our communities less safe. So I pray that we become aware of what is going on and that we look at groups that are doing something about it and that we join them. And then I pray that we hold our politicians accountable.